just now we're putting the final credits on and that sort of thing, so it'll be out soon.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I am too. To tell you the truth. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's perceived by people, because basically in our film it's a Western, but the Indian is the cowboy.
Right. Well, and he had a British father, so he was half Native American, he was half British.
Exactly. He was kind of caught in the middle. His father was British American and his mother was Chickasaw, and his father left him at a young age. So after his mother died. So, and he was raised by his grandmother and by the tribe. Mm-hmm. And so and his father shows up. This is all true. Showed up very late, after he was successful. And so there was, that rough, do I trust you or not?
Mm-hmm. Why are you coming back when I'm successful, when you weren't interested in me when I was young and needy, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting about that film is that we shot it in Oklahoma, but in real life, after he'd become successful, about 70 Indians in Oklahoma were imprisoned with no trial and put on trains and sent to St. Augustine, Florida, and put in the old fort there. And if you go there, you'll see pictures of them on the wall still, the 70 Indians that were incarcerated there for a few years. And in real life, Montford, who had never left Oklahoma, went to St. Augustine. None of these Indians were Chickasaw, but he went to St. Augustine to try to get them out. And nobody knows exactly why or whether he was successful, but within a few months of his visit, they were all released. So in our movie, he does have something to do with getting them out.
And from a logical standpoint, it seems that would be influential. You don't, keep them in prison for several years, and then a successful Native American comes, speaks, visits on their behalf, and suddenly within a couple of months they're set free.
Exactly.
So it's logical that he had an impact.
Yeah, and and what's exciting for me as a native Floridian is I talked to the Chickasaw about shooting it at where it actually happened, and they agreed. So at the end of our shoot, we actually moved our company from Oklahoma to St. Augustine and shot 2 days in the fort where it actually happened, and it was very it's very spiritual to be quite frank,
Sure.
to be there where it happened, and
almost like hallowed ground.
Yeah, it's also very hard to find Native Americans that look like Native Americans in Florida.
Right, it's true.
Because everybody in our movie that is Native American, that's playing Native American, is a Native American.
Right. I know I was back a couple of years ago, I was asked to assist a project that was looking for Native American Seminole Indians. And I got in touch with the Seminole Nation, and they were really not interested in doing it for whatever reason. I don't know what the nature of the project was, but they weren't interested. And then the filmmaker said, well, how about the Miccosukee? Can we use them? Or how about some Cherokees? And I went, no. They do not run around representing one another when it is not their tribe. That is offensive to them. And I think these people were from Chicago. They didn't quite get it. But
one of the wonderful little happenings on that film, one of the Native Americans that showed up, his grandfather was one of the 70 that had been in prison. And he was an older gentleman, and he 100% Native.
Wow.
Look, everything. And it was his grandfather that was actually there. So he couldn't believe it, that he was, a part of this movie that was portraying something that was part of his past.
I think that phrase is serendipity.
Yes, yeah.
Serendipity at play. That's right.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. That's wonderful. So what lies ahead for you? What is your next project? Are you just taking a look at different things right now as you...
Well, I do a lot of volunteer work that keeps me busy, too. Besides NRB, there's a group called International Christian Visual Media Association, ICVM.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to icvm.com, you can read about it. But it's basically anybody that's a Christian filmmaker or in any part of filmmaking, be it music or editing or anything.
Media production
should
in
be
general.
A part. It's 200 Christian filmmakers and distributors and support groups, basically, that meet once a year. And we meet each November. Next year, we're actually meeting in Burbank in November. And it's going to be, it's fabulous, because you get 200 people of the same,
like
faith
mind.
And beliefs.
Right.
Yeah, like mind and heart. And we're sharing and worshiping and making projects happen. I have seen movies come together. This movie, Grace and Gravity, that I worked on, was shot in England with a few days in Florida, because I met the guy and I said, well, come to Florida, shoot. It's a story about a British guy and an American guy, and he had some flashback scenes in America. I said, come to America, and I'll use Valencia College because I was working with them then.
Sure.
I said, I'll get their equipment and their students. You can use that for free, and you can shoot your 3 days in Florida and get the real look of America and that sort of thing. You had Bruce Marciano in the movie, which was a great Christian actor. And so he did that. He came over and we shot that, and it was a great experience for the students. You know, he said the part of the movie he shot in England, he didn't have equipment as good as they had at Valencia College. So he was
great.
like a kid in a candy store. He said, I can't believe this. This is wonderful.
Right. It's like Ringling College here in Sarasota. They have, I drove you by the sound stages and the studios. Now they have the big post-production facility. And their equipment is second to none. It is all state-of-the-art.
Exactly.
And it's wonderful when the colleges provide that to these students coming up through the ranks.
Well, what they've learned and what Valencia learned is that you can teach students all there is to do in film and graduate them, but what really gets them a job is a credit on a show.
Right.
So what Sarasota or what Ringling is doing is you attract a filmmaker in with a real project. They make a movie. The students get to work on it in real positions. You bring in professionals too,
right?
But they get to work and they now they have a credit on a movie when they graduate, and that's worth really more than the certificate of graduation.
It's true.
Your diploma is not as powerful as having real credits in our business. So.
Right. And I think that is the hands-on, real-time, real-world experience for the students before they go out in the real world is invaluable. It's
yeah. And I just urge people, if they have a heart to be a Christian filmmaker, be it. There are people out there. There are support groups. There are Christian film festivals that are outstanding around, even in the state. There's some really good ones. ICVM's a great organization to kind of center you. And like I said, 4 days out of your year coming together and meeting with all these people, it just empowers you to accomplish more. And it will help projects get made. We need great writers. We need great directors. We need great grips and script supervisors and all the other crafts.
And there's a market for it. There's an audience for it that are hungry for it.
It's growing.
It is growing.
It's growing. So you can actually, I think, make a living doing it someday, maybe, possibly.
Fingers crossed.
Somehow I do, but it is hard.
It is hard. It is hard. Well, you used to be the film commissioner for the state of Florida, and you really introduced the state of Florida to the program of incentives, that sort of thing, when you were under Governor Jeb Bush. And you're still really active in that. Before we end the show, I just want you to give a couple minutes to what are our chances here in Florida of fixing this and getting competitive again with North Carolina and Louisiana and Georgia and our other East Coast competitors?
Well, let me first urge people to join Film Florida and get active. FilmFlorida.org. It's a great organization, and it's everybody that works in the companies that are involved in the business in Florida.
Hundreds of us.
And we meet 4 times a year. It's 50 film commissioners around the state of Florida we have, which is great. Most states don't have that. And yet other states get all the business right now because we don't have an incentive. So, the negative side of it, they call it corporate welfare. It's not.
No.
We've written an incentive this year, and Senator Gruters is sponsoring it.
Go Sarasota, go Senator Gruters, yay.
Yes, we love them. And, we need people to support that. We need people to call their legislators, their local legislators in the House and Senate, and ask their local people to co-sponsor it right now, because it's happening right now. It's in committee. I just got an email. It's going to be heard Tuesday in the Senate in its first committee. So, but it's a good bill. It's for every dollar the state puts into it, the state gets at least $1 back into the tax coffers. Plus, it provides all the high-paying jobs, provides all the money going to Florida's economy. If it's an out-of-state show, if a company comes here and spends $2 million in Florida, That's $2 million from California or New York or somewhere else that wouldn't have been in the state.
Right.
That's new money, and that creates economic growth.
Right. And that new money, that $1 million, goes through layer after layer after layer of our local economy. It goes from hand to hand to hand, that $1 million we would never have had. And by the time it passes through 3 or 4 hands, people paying mortgages, people buying groceries, people buying cars, putting their kids in school, shopping at Walmart, whatever it might be, the real economic return on investment can be 5 or 6 to 1.
Oh, yeah. And even the bottom, it's not corporate welfare if the state spends $1 and gets more than $1 back.
Right.
That's called smart economics.
That's right.
And then that dollar does more in the state, so it builds from there, as you say.
Right. Well, Paul, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. The time just flies by. Thank you for the work that you're doing on quality films that the whole family can watch, for furthering faith-based movies and serving that segment of society that's fairly underserved, growing that content that we all want to go see and have to go find.
Faith-based movies are for both. You can make them for the Christian market, but you can also make them for the secular world.
That's right.
Both sides need it.
Right.
You need to preach to the choir because there's sin in the choir.
That's right.
And you need to preach to the secular world too to get them to understand what this is about.
Right, and to open their eyes to, wow, I left there feeling really good about that movie.
Absolutely.
It gave me some stuff to think about.
Mr. Rogers.
That's right.
The
Mr.
new movie
Rogers.
that's out now. It's A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
With Tom
Watch
Hanks.
that. That's a very powerful spiritual movie.
Yes, it is. Yeah, he was a minister.
Yeah.
He was. So anyway, to those of you in the sound of my voice, we've been talking to Paul Sirmons, former film commissioner for the state of Florida, and an amazing filmmaker, writer, producer, director, multi-talented person, committed to making a difference in the world. Paul, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, our pleasure. And to all of you listening, we'll talk again soon. Bye for now. I want to thank you for listening. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, your Sarasota County, Florida Film Commissioner, and if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to www.filmsarasota.com, or you can call us toll-free from wherever you are at 888-765-5777, extension 104. We're easy to get a hold of, and we like email. You can email us at info@filmsarasota.com, and we check all of our email. If you don't hear back from us right away, it's not that we haven't gotten it, but we might have a computer glitch. I hate to admit it, but it happens a lot. We've had emails that disappear for a month. We've had phone messages that disappear for 2 months, but they show up eventually. So we will get a hold of you. Or you can get a hold of us, ask us questions, and if we can help you, we will. And if we can't, maybe we can steer you in a good direction to somebody who will help you. And that's it for me. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, and you've been listening to Entertain You on the Radio Ear Network, and this is the Society Bites network of programs. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon.